The college football experience, 12-team playoff preview and bowl game special bonanza episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up! And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN. You get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rebet. Rebet's a brand new sportsbook available in 45 different states. Download Rebet in the App Store and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. And last but not least, we're brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm is the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride.
Hey, this is Bill Romanowski. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes! 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 Woo! Welcome! Welcome to the college football experience. Happy holidays! Happy holidays! Let's get it going. YouTube.com/the college experience. Hit that like and subscribe button as the race for 15K. Shout out to Rolex Dad. Awesome time of year. Thanks for all the shows. Thank you for listening, and shout out to K_E. Wake up, everyone. Show's on, damn it. And Mom's your dad. Great timing, as always, away from these shitty NFL games. Yep, NFL sucks, and college football is where it's at. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But first, like I said, youtube.com/the college experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. The race for 15K before the new year. Step it up. If we
What's
don't
the
get
update?
15K by
I think we hit 14.
Like 14. We're at 14.1 almost. Well, by tonight it'll be 14.1.
So
but that means
chance.
we need 915 days. I don't know that you're capable. And look, if we do not get to 15K, we will never do another show again. We will never do another show again. We'll be like a secret handshake. You know what I mean? We'll be out there and meet up at this dive. Right. And that's the only way you're ever going to hear the college experience ever again, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, is if you stumble in. Yeah. Well, you got to stumble into your local shithole and hope that we're there. All right. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Thank you. I like that. He goes, you're nothing but a chameleon. And the guy says, thank you in the middle of it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Pretty cool animals, if you ask me. Reptiles.
Your team reptiles, huh? You've always been a reptile type of guy.
You
You know what I mean? You seem like I remember back in the day, you go to the pet store, and Nick was always fascinated by the reptiles.
Although
Buddy had a reptile.
I don't want a big iguana living in my house at the same time, though.
Oh, those things are freaking scary.
They shed their tail. Don't worry about it. Look, I am joined by my co-host. He is
dinosaur.
It is a dinosaur. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi-oh! Up.
Let's go. Let's go.
Jams.
Chat. Let's go. Let's have some fun. Kick back, crack a cold one. Get yourself a fucking mint julep, some other eggnog and rum, some type of seasonal drink, or just alcohol. Look, I am also joined by third man in the booth, the DFS god himself. The latter, he's been He's been throwing up all these ladder deals over there. People don't know. I feel like it's goddamn Home Depot. You did work at Home Depot at one point in your life, didn't you, buddy? Right?
For a few months. The final straw when I was looking for when I first moved to North Carolina, I was looking for a better job. So I had to, just grab something for the time being. 3 months at Home Depot, and I quit because I went to use the restroom and somebody had like smeared shit all over the walls. I was like, yep, that's it. I'm done. I'm not working here.
Sure.
They asked you, hey, NC Nick, do me a favor, wipe that shit off the walls. No, I've got a bit. Like, I'll tell you about the drill bits on aisle 12, but I will not.
It didn't even get that far. Just the fact that I saw that, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm not working in this environment.
Quit on the spot.
Yeah. But I wasn't.
Damn well that was a construction worker that came in for some shit and had a breakfast burrito or two that morning after his 30 cocktails the night before.
Why the walls?
Yeah,
I never understood that either.
Because the drill bit wasn't available. He's sending a message to Home Depot. All right? Yeah, sharpen up.
I wasn't in the flooring department, so if you need any info on tile, laminate flooring, hardwoods, carpet, I'm your guy.
There you go.
Plumbing. Anyway, give it up for the DFS god himself, the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lot giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be. How are you, brother?
There we go. College football playoff time. I'm super pumped, man. Let's go.
Oh, man. Hitting with the Batusi.
I feel like I could. It's just gonna happen one of these days. Open mic night, gonna hit. Now that I'm outside of LA, where you could actually have some talent in the open mic nights. Here, I feel like you're gonna get nothing. You're in the weeds anyway. Let me just.
You have to
just give me a little buzz
to begin with.
That's true. Maybe just stand at the train station and just yell. Guys, we have the greatest week of FBS college football upon us ever.
How long have we waited for this?
Since fucking Doug Flutie. You know what I mean? Since Vinny Testaverde at Miami? I don't know. Our entire lives we've waited for this. We are the opposite of all that bullshit on television with trying to say, who was I just hearing? I see so much shit. I don't even remember. It's like that. I'm kind of like in that bathroom at Home Depot where it's like there's so much shit smeared everywhere. I don't even remember who did it or what. But a lot of people,
lately X has been that Home Depot bathroom.
Yeah. X is that Home Depot bathroom when you really think about it. You just try to find those. You just try to find a few Kleenexes to put your ass down on top of some stuff not containing shit or piss.
There's all the SEC guys over here.
Yeah,
that's what we are. We're the clean toilet seat. That's the college football experience.
Exactly. The clean with hope. All right, with hope and exactly. We really are.
We're the one toilet seat that isn't covered with shit.
and please, if you can, give us a 5-star review and include that in there, or tell the good college football world out there on Twitter that we're the one toilet seat not covered in shit.
And Patty C would love it if you'd sit on his face.
That's right. This is open season over here.
No sexual orientation.
Take it for what it is.
Yeah. If they're a college football fan, that's the orientation I'm looking for. Sit on my face. This got out of control fast. Okay.
Yeah. When's Josh Pate going to mention that? All right. All right. No, but
Josh Pate would never.
I know he would never. He still wants a BCS, right?
Right.
Guys, we finally have the 12-team playoff upon us. I'm very excited for these games. Home environments, the way college football should be. If only we had a blueprint to this, like the FCS D2, D3, NAIA. It would be, those weren't blueprints apparently. But But we got news. Last time I talked to you, we didn't have all this news. Bill Belichek. We talked about the possibilities of it a week ago. But then, for it to come down the pipe that Bill Belichek He's already done a press conference at the or he's already done the press conference. He's already done the talk to the fans. He didn't pull a Cignetti, but he did say at the press conference, all that matters is we beat Duke. But, I mean, did you guys catch some of the statements regarding like North Carolina going all in on football? Did you see? I mean, let me just quickly try to throw one together. UNC trustee David Bolick, I think his name might be Bolick. It could be. If we don't get into that game being football, we're going to get left behind. It's now or never. Part of the, and there's several quotes in this article I was reading about going all in on football. And I can tell you they're hosting like some big time transfers. They've already got a 4-star recruit at the quarterback spot. Bill Belichek is there. And I can't help but I noticed this. I also saw Texas A&M. I'm sorry, no, not Texas A&M, Texas Tech. And a few other schools. Duke, I know, was one that we had talked about previously, but basically come out and saying like we're going all into football. And I think this is going to be fascinating to watch. Virginia got a gigantic donation. I know Colorado is another one that I feel like with the Heisman Trophy and with the money that is channeled through Boulder, they're throwing more money into their program. Boise got their record donation. And I can't help but think that regardless of how this turns out for Belichick, the fact you're taking top players, that it makes me like reaffirm my position that a lot of those teams that jump to the Big Ten and SEC, providing they don't separate, that was a mistake because you're seeing it right now. Like North Carolina pledged NIL amount. We don't know what private schools donate besides SMU. There was an article of $160 million and raised in like a week, right? There's 3 months, but like majority of that was raised in a week. It only reconfirms though that like my thing of like, the amount of money North Carolina's pledging would be fourth most of public schools in America. First, I'm so curious if Nick has changed his thoughts on if this can work because of the amount of money and the amount of buy-in with North Carolina. And what do you make of all this? And what do you make of all, like, we just saw Texas Tech pledge a bunch of money. Colorado pledge. Boise's getting record donations. I'm curious the whole grand scheme of things, what you think, has this changed any of your positioning with Oklahoma joining the SEC and Texas and some of these other schools? I'm curious your thoughts in general.
That's a big question, or a handful of questions there. I guess, I mean, first off, these people, these, school presidents and ADs and whatnot, I mean, they're not dummies. Anybody can see the writing on the wall that football is most important. Football is king. If you're not good at football, if you don't take football seriously, if you're not trying to win at football, all of your athletics suffers. So, it was just a matter of time before some of these schools really went all in on football. I love it. The fact that, everybody's going all in and they're willing to spend money. I wonder how long will it be the Wild West like this, though? Are we going to get to a model where there's like a cap and the school pays? So it's no longer NIL collective. It's coming straight from the school. Who knows what the future looks like? But for now, any team can win as long as they put in resources. Look at SMU. SMU was in the American Conference last year. If they stayed in that conference, maybe they could have made the playoffs. Maybe they could have been Boise this year. But the fact that in their first year, they moved into a power conference and basically, was undefeated in the regular season, lost in the championship game, and they're spending as much money as almost anybody in that conference. So it's crazy times. Now, UNC in general, I think, the fact that they're putting more resources towards football, that's going to help a lot. I still have question marks on the hire. I still think Belichick might be too NFL. He might be too old. His record without Brady is not that great. And his record as a GM, which is basically one of his roles now, is not that great. But the fact that they can bring in a bunch of talent with all that money, that's going to help him out a lot, obviously. So he's going to make UNC what Prime made Colorado. Now they're must watch every Saturday to see how he does for at least a couple of years.
Well, and you wonder what that can do to the ACC's, survival in a way. Card Collector, shout out to Card Collector. He says the sport is turning into the NFL. What happened to the sport I love? See, I'm on the other side of this. Like, I think maybe with the GM thing, hiring GMs, but like, I thought before we were letting 15 teams cheat, 15 teams kind of be the NFL in a way, and the rest were all fucked. And you're like sitting there saying, well, these teams get that benefit and the others don't. I think this is great. This is what I've been like. I've always wondered why North Carolina is not great. And I like some of their quotes, even in this article, I believe it was like, I forget the source exactly who said this, but it said, if we want our women's soccer team to be great, we need to be great at football. Someone said that on the record.
The last time they went all in on football was the Butch Davis era. And a lot of scandals.
I don't even think so, according to the stuff that they were saying. Yeah.
Maybe not compared to now, but that's when they really wanted to win. And they won. He had a pretty decent few years there. But with all that scandals and everything, they weren't at that point, they weren't willing to accept all that because they wanted their pristine image of their university and everything.
They were never a top 5 paying public school in football.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well,
I mean, they should be like Oregon.
Nobody was paying, right?
Right. No.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. They should be, Patty C. Oregon's a good comparison. I mean, especially with the Jordan brand and Nike surrounding UNC. They really should be.
Card Collector says, Colby, how is it great? I thought you were against blood money. Look at Michigan buying Underwood. I have no problem with Michigan buying Underwood. To me, like that. It's the same as Dickerson going to SMU in the 80s. But you see, the problem I have, and Patty, I want your answer. I'm sorry. But my problem I have is like, I think the average American is so delusional on like what it was prior. They think like it was truly an honest game. It was never. And to me, we were just like, I mean, it might have been for if you're a fan of Washington State, it was probably always honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no way to take the money out, but now the money's at least above board so you can see it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, and I think that gives hope to so many more fan bases. Yeah. Before, you weren't allowed to be the part of the party. You know what I mean?
Well, you just saw it get so out of hand, like recently. The SEC was never as dominant previously to this past 15, 20 years as they had been. And they're the schools with they don't have pro teams. So those are the pro teams in those states. And they completely dominate. They generate more income. Not to mention there's a lot of talent down there. Let's not discount the SEC for what they were able to accomplish. They did great, but a lot of that is resource driven and cheating. Yeah. And so, I think, and then to Nixon and your point, this year's SEC ACC challenge probably opened some eyes. It's been happening for a few years that the SEC has been closing that gap in basketball and other sports. But certainly this year, they're. Would you say they're the best basketball conference?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes, by far.
I mean,
that could just be a 1-year thing, though. I mean, we'll see. The pendulum.
They've been getting better, though. They've been
and they made better hires. Yes, they made better hires, and the same can be said for baseball. I know back in the day, the Pac-12 was up there for one of the best in baseball, but
it is easy to make better hires when you are willing to spend more money, or you have more money to spend on the hire. So yes, they have made good hires, but it also helps that they were able to pay those coaches more.
Yeah, which makes me think
college would or something.
That's true. Which makes me think that maybe them taking, the SEC money and those teams going to the SEC probably wasn't a bad idea because yes, you still get NIL money, which it levels the playing field. And I think what you were trying to say there, Colby, is like the likes of like North Carolina staying in the ACC, but having just as much money to spend from NIL as the other
easier
schools.
Road. I think that's
is a benefit to them.
I looked at Boise State and I say, why would you join a big conference now? If you have the 12-team playoff, you do that exercise. I think like 15 of the last 22 years, you'd be in the playoffs. And now you're giving access. You have access to a national championship. So I think fan buy-in from NIL is even more. This is why they never wanted the small guys at the party, because all of a sudden that takes away some of the power that you have. And to me, I think that's why the sport is great. I know Card Collector, like in some ways, like obviously I wish the realignment didn't happen. but I think it is the healthiest the sport has been in a very long time, in my opinion. I think NIL and the transfer portal has made the sport very, very healthy. I don't think it's now. I'll say like when the portal is unhealthy. Like we just shut down the spring portal, which I was like, why? Spring portal should happen. It's the winter one we should shut down, right? Like because you're in the middle. You just saw Penn State's backup quarterback hit the portal and he plays some. Like that's what I would say is unhealthy. The actual portal and I would like to see a limitation on the portal. I don't think you should be able to go like Musa Cisse in like 7 schools, 7 years. You know what I mean? Or something like that. But as far as like, to me, SMU wouldn't be invited to the party before. We've seen that in the 80s. Right. You can actually study that, right? Boise State wouldn't be invited to the party. Now we have this. And I think, you know, and even the teams on the outside of this, Texas Tech throwing in money, Virginia throwing in money, West Virginia throwing in money, they can all, they're like, you can see it now. You can see a realistic national championship. Before, the powers that would be would keep you out the most that they ever could. And we've seen it. We've seen it so many times. I just feel like it's you know, we've been wanting this, and I think the NIL is fresh. I always think you should be able to have a team come out of nowhere. I hope they never put a restriction on that. I think if you're fucking New Mexico military, if someone wants to invest $20 million in your institution, go do it. I think that's what's great about college sports. You should be able to have that power.
Well,
anyway.
Let me say this, though. While I do think I agree with you, and I think it's pretty clear at this point that the parity, although it remains to be seen how that, you know, plays out over time, I'm sure that the SEC powers will adjust and find their way to, you know, monopolize the talent a little better than they have. Maybe not, you know. Money talks, and it always will. So if
I think results talk too. I don't know that they'll have the power. What if they eat shit in this playoff? What if the Big Ten eats shit in this playoff?
Yeah, this
I don't
is a
know.
huge
You know
playoff.
what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But
what I will say is this: the charm of the sport suffers a little bit. The charm of the sport suffers a little bit by having these dudes, like publicly getting paid this much. You know, at least you like would hear about it, and it would be like, I think it does a little bit to me to see these guys like making Derek Jeter money. You know, it's like, all right, like
college.
I'm not watching college sports at this point. I'm watching pro sports. You know.
It always was. You're under the illusion that it was college sports, unless you're watching NAIA, Pat. I hate to tell you this, that they've been paying, yes, for like name me a national championship team that hadn't bought players in our lifetime.
Probably none. You're probably right.
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's one team. Yeah,
I think there will be some casualties. Say like Northwestern or Wake Forest, maybe. Like small private schools who used to be able to compete when most people weren't cheating, but now where money is everything. If you know, there's some schools, and I don't know if those are good examples, but they might be, that they just don't have those kind of resources. So now they won't be able to compete as much as they used to.
Yeah, but that's up to them. Yeah. Duke is just like Northwestern, but Duke's deciding to throw money into football.
Well, Duke's also has some. I mean, it's probably similar, but I mean, Duke's got a lot of money. You know, Duke's a very wealthy school, and a lot of people that graduate there are wealthy. Same thing as Northwestern. Maybe Wake Forest is a better example, where it's so tiny. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they should run some other ones across the country.
They should have been running the option for years, but yeah, I mean, it sucks. But let's be honest, it's not like Wake Forest ever won the ACC. Like in one year they did, right? Yeah, 1 year they did, right?
Or they at least played in it.
Speaking of which, well, not that I think Grobe was the one that won it with them. Yeah, like Clawson.
Yeah,
but still, once in 100 years. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you were dominant before when the old rules were applied. You know what I mean? We have 100 years sample size.
There was a stretch of Wake Forest for 10 years where they were winning like 8 games a year.
Yeah, that was a pretty short sample size in their history.
Now, that could still happen.
That could happen.
I'm sorry, if Army and Navy just went and had those good of years,
no,
Air Force has had great years. Yeah,
money isn't everything. I mean, you can spend a lot on a team, and that team still might suck. So that's true.
Yeah, I think that's still very well achievable if they want. I think, like I said, I'll argue. I see on Twitter all the time people think that college football is over, and to me, I just think like they're naive. They're just naive. They just weren't looking, and the same could be said for basketball. Basketball would channel their money through the shoe companies. So and the shoe companies would only be connected to like 10 schools.
Some romantic notion that these were all, people not, just college kids, just getting the, free tuition. And that was never really the case, was it?
Yeah. I mean, I have a buddy and Patty, you might've met him before. I know our buddy Gerard has. My buddy Ferris that played at, two schools. He transferred back when like the old school transfer was going on, but he played, and he told me he played D1 at a very high level. And he was like, dude, I got offered money. Every single school in the SEC except Vanderbilt and Kentucky offered me a bag. And this was in 2008, I think it was, or 7. Right. And this is
Kentucky
offered him a bag. So, and obviously he ends up going to some, and then he ends up transferring, but stop living the lie. These people just live in, they just think that, oh yeah, our program was squeaky clean. This is a guy that played safety, backup safety.
Yeah.
Just stop it. Stop it. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe don't be so offended that they're getting, 500,000 instead of 100,000. And, because the result of that is, even though they might be getting paid a little more, at least everyone's getting paid, and it creates parity. And
and before they could be assholes. I heard a story of LSU cutting off a man's electricity. They were paying for his mom's electricity under the table, right? So and he was interested in a girl at Ole Miss. So he was they thought he was going to be potentially transferring to Ole Miss. He was really just trying to chase some scattered ass. They cut off his mom's electricity. Right on the
is there not enough scattered ass in Baton Rouge? Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly that's under sure, you know what I mean. But I just think I think it's better with it out there. I think it's better with it out there. I would argue this with anybody really. Like I think the sport is healthier now than it has been in my lifetime.
All right, so we've beaten this dead horse thoroughly.
Yeah. Speaking of Wake Forest, Dave Clawson steps down. What do you guys make of the? I knew this one was coming. This was Tony Bennett 2.0.
Yep.
He's just sitting there like taking on my damn good players every year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With our 2,000 enrollment.
Well, he thrived on player development. I mean, he would take a new class of freshmen, redshirt them. First thing he does, and just work with them through the years, and he can't do that anymore because as soon as they start playing well, they bounce.
They get poached to
get paid.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at it, that's a sad thing, right? That's a sad thing. Before you could see the player be there 4 years, but also for every one of those players we saw that was there for 4 years. Once again, you're not thinking about the flip side of that. Flip side of that is the disgruntled backup quarterback that wants to be able to go to another team.
Sure.
And you had people like Bill Snyder and Bobby Bowden and Steve Spurrier and a bunch of other guys being complete assholes to these people. Bobby Knight, I know, is one that just, no, you're not transferring. Bobby Bowden had a rule you could only transfer to the Pacific time zone. But back then there was no fucking internet. So it's not like you knew the fucking running backs coach at San Jose State. If you're Dexter Carter, you're saying, damn it, I could start at San Jose State instead of behind Sammy Smith, right? But no, come on, man. I just feel like it's all how you look at it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, Clawson
I will say this. Clawson being gone, and you point out that Wake, that kind of program may be dead, though, unfortunately. And I know that Grobe, I think Clawson, I watched an interview where he asked Grobe, how did you get Wake Forest good? And he said, get old and stay old. And so that's why basically everyone was required to redshirt. And, Dabo at Clemson can not be super active in the portal and barely get away with it at Clemson in a 12-team playoff and, sneak in. But a program like Wake Forest that's trying to do that probably can't. So the flip side of that is if you want to be competitive, now you do have to play the portal if you're a smaller school. I still think, a program like Clemson or like a blue blood type program could probably get away primarily with player development. But I think lower level teams, you just have to use the portal because you're getting robbed in the portal. You got to strike back.
Sure, but I also think like Wake Forest, it's a very small school. We have 100 years of data to show they were never really a force at this, right? They never really achieved much in the prior system. In this system, I would say, I would even ask yourself, like as a school, when you watch Boise get there, a team that was a community college in like 1978, why are we in the ACC? Maybe we should leave. Maybe we should leave and go be a part of the American Athletic, and we might have easier access to the playoff, which might mean we have a long-term better product for our fans.
Nobody's going to voluntarily take $20 million less a year.
They're thinking short-term, though. Long-term, I think that might make more sense.
I don't know. Long-term, that's $20 million over lots of years. That adds up.
That does add up.
Why the hell is their enrollment still shit? You've had 100 years of this money. You know what I mean? Like, let more people in. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't rocket science here. You would have more money if you let more people in. Just from a general, like, if you let more people in, then you'd have more grads that have money.
Well, true. They should have been thinking about this in the 60s.
Yeah. God damn it. This Woodstock bullshit out of here.
It makes me wonder, though, if Belichick is brought in because he is, he does have the experience running a roster, and he is notorious for being really I don't know what the phrase would be, but he'll get rid of a guy in a heartbeat, and he'll have the next guy up ready to go, and he's always looking for a slight edge here and there, and he's got the next 10 next guys up. And so that's like, I think the approach you have to take moving forward is just like, be ready for guys to come, guys to go, but whatever, your program's humming along regardless of who decides to come or go, So I think he's probably good.
There was
for
no
this era.
negative side to it. Like, I mean, even if he's 72 years old, it's like, well, your coach prior was 73. So it's like, it's not like they fired a young guy to bring him in. So it's like, to me, it's like the worst comes out of this. You eat shit, but you're still going to kill at TV ratings, which would still add value to your university. So like, to me, you get the winningest coach Super Bowl wise in NFL history. And why not take it, especially because nowadays the coaching carousel too, like some of the best coaches are not going to be available until you don't know if Ryan Day is getting fired. You don't know if Andy Kotelnicki will take the job because he's in the playoffs, So like some of these coaches that you want, you can't get even the access for. You're kind of, and the portal opens. It's all a nightmare for when everything is going on. But I don't know. I think Belichick, I think it'll work out to a certain extent. I don't know that it'll ever bring home a national championship, but I think they'll be in the playoffs. I'm going to say they get to the playoffs with Bill Belichick.
Wow. Okay.
Patty?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. I think it's going to be tough. I think a lot of it will depend on how well he, how brings in talent and what he can get out of his quarterbacks. That'll go a long way. I mean, that was his formula for success. And actually, with Matt Caslin, succeeding for 11 wins when Tom Brady went down, it almost makes me think without a quarterback,
he took the kid from Alabama to the playoffs.
Yeah, but once Brady left this last time, things got ugly. So I think maybe he got a little.
No, he took Mac Jones to the playoffs.
Did he?
Yeah, they were like, he took Mac Jones.
They were like 9-7 one year or something, and they just squeaked in.
Were they?
Okay. I don't know.
But didn't they win a playoff game?
Yeah.
I don't know either. Folks, want to tell you the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em is one of the biggest menus of all the sports. You can now win 1,000 times, up to 1,000 times the amount of money you enter with Underdog Streaks. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boost and gimme pickups. They got college football, they got college hoops, they got everything else too. NBA, MMA, MLB, NFL, CFL, NASCAR, everything you can think of, NHL. You can now use specials to boost on all flex entries as well. So sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCE SGPN. I want to ask you guys, there's one that I like here. I'm curious your thoughts. Quinn Ewers starting quarterback of the Texas Longhorns. He is playing the Dabo Swinney Clemson Tigers. And I believe his number, as if I could, damn, they added a bunch since about an hour ago. Where is this Texas game? Here we go. His number, higher or lower passing yards, is 264.5. NC Nick, your thoughts on Quinn Ewers?
I think I like the over, or I'm sorry, the higher. We saw Jennings just eclipse that mark. We saw Ewers just go higher than that. He threw for 350 plus against Georgia. I'll say that he's only done it 3 times this year, so it's not like he's smashing.
I like the lower. I'm gonna
go higher.
All right. Well, there you go. You can get access to that. Mitchell Evans, tight end at Notre Dame, right? Higher or lower, 29.5 receiving yards. I personally love the higher here.
I like the higher.
Slam that in the snow. Check down city. Tight end seam route, tight end drag route city.
He's been emerging too after a slow start of the year, coming back from that injury from last year.
Yeah. I still think, though, I think that's their one edge when they look at like Indiana's great against the run. Their corners aren't amazing, but Notre Dame's wideouts are trash. I think their one angle they circle is that we can beat these backers and safeties with our tight end. And I think that's why I'm going to go higher on Mitchell Evans. That's some of the edge you can get over there, Underdog Fantasy. Promo code TCESGPN. You can find an edge that I don't think you could find elsewhere, so check it out. We're also brought to you by Rebet. Rebet's a new social sportsbook available in 45 different states. There are plenty of betting opportunities available on Rebet. It's easy to use, great for people in states where traditional sportsbooks may be restricted. Download Rebet in the App Store and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. That's Rebet, promo code SGPN. All right, I know we got to get to these games, but I just feel like there's so much. This is the most, like, as someone that has loved college football my entire life, not only do I believe the game is stronger than it's been, with the exception of some of the rules, as far as, like, fairness to other programs, and a real playoff, somewhat of a real playoff. I would like more than 12, but you also get just it's such an interesting time. You know what I mean? Whether it's Belichick or whether it's Deion. See, I don't think North Carolina makes that move without Deion's success.
That definitely helps.
I think North Carolina looked at Colorado and said, wow, they're doing this. And that gets me to
comparing Deion and Bill Belichick is kind of funny.
Well, I just think from a TV rating standpoint, like they're just thinking that will funnel money in whether they win or lose, because Deion was 4-8 in year one. And I read those articles in the offseason about how much money trickled through Boulder. Maybe
all publicity is good pub, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
But let's talk some more about this. Michael Vick interviewed at Norfolk State and Sac State. Adam Schefter reporting that Sac State has obviously they're building a new stadium, but also a $50 million NIL investment involved, which I still don't know if that's accurate, but he reported that. I'd heard $35 million earlier in the year, but
still a lot of bread to work with.
Whew. Mike Vick, Nick, as a coach, can he be Deion 2.0?
What's his coaching history?
I know he was supposed to be the Atlanta Legends coach for the Alliance football. Yeah.
Like a week before that season started, he's like, "No, I'm out." And then
so this is more like the Coach Prime hire. But Prime had more coaching experience than this, and plus, Coach Prime didn't have felonies for dogfighting.
Whoa! Look!
Oh, that one back. This is a pro dog podcast here, okay? So I still got some problems with that. I guess I still got some problems with that.
I will say. But he's rehabilitated. All right,
man paid his debt to
man.
society.
I hope so.
A couple years in Leavenworth. All right, we'll change all that shit, right? But no, I mean, look, to me, if he starts out at Norfolk State, it makes more sense than Sac State. If Sac State's think about jumping to the FBS, I would want a more proven head coach. Not to say that Mike Vick can't succeed. It's just we haven't seen the blueprint. And if you're talking that much money, then I think you could do better. Norfolk State, it makes all the sense in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Not only is he from there, yeah,
he would ignite that region for sure.
Yeah,
and it would be must-watch
We've been waiting
TV
for that to
from
happen.
the start. Yeah, must-watch TV from the start. Okay, just wanted to key in on that.
Do we call him Coach Mexico?
I love that. Ron Mexico as a head coach. It will be college football. Just keeps the good stories going. How about I just want Rich Rod also to Dub V. I know you saw like we kind of touched on this, but that's another one where their NIL collective is going all in. I think it's very healthy for the sport.
Where do you think they find themselves in relation to the Big 12 win-loss wise over the next few years?
I mean, it depends. We saw John Mateer hit the portal, and I'm like, man, I know he's probably going to follow his OC to Oklahoma, but if somehow Rich Rod was able to get John Mateer in that offense, whew,
yeah,
be pretty nasty.
That'd be perfect. Yeah,
I said Alex Orji. Give a little revenge to Michigan. Take their quarterback while Michigan struggles finding a quarterback. Actually, I guess they found their long-term guy probably, but and make Alex Orji succeed right away. That'd be a nice slap in the face.
How fitting would it be though that Rich Rod's first home game is the backyard brawl? No, he gets Robert Morris, but the first FBS game he gets is the backyard brawl.
Nice,
dude. And the date of the game is 9/13.
The score of the final of the
last game
national championship against LaShawn McCoy and Dave Wanstead. Also, Barry Odom took the Purdue job. I know me and Nick, we kind of touched on this. I thought that was the dumbest move of the whole coaching tree. Like
by Odom,
all of it.
not by Purdue.
By both. I think by both.
Hire.
By both.
What?
I think.
Really? I think it's a good hire by Purdue.
I don't think you can say it's a bad hire by Purdue.
Can I make the case?
Yeah,
Can I make the case?
I think I know what you're going to say, but gosh, what had UNLV ever done to succeed before?
Yeah.
Well, they were really good with Randall Cunningham in the 80s, but Purdue just has never worked with a defensive coach. And then another thing is he had Ryan Walters on his staff, so it's like you're basically getting Ryan Walters just a little bit like roided up, right? It's just a Ryan Walters or Odom was the guy. Ryan Walters was a DC under Odom at Mizzou, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is that a sexy? If I'm a Purdue fan, I'm like, what the fuck? We could have got Brian Brown. We could have interviewed some there was speculation that I even think Neil Brown made more sense than Barry Odom. There was some other.
Consider me in disagreement with you on that one.
I think it's a good hire.
I think it's a good hire by Purdue. We'll see if it works out. I can't be sure, obviously, but I thought Barry Odom did a decent job at Missouri. He had to turn him around. He went from 4-8, 7-6, 8-5 by year 3. He dropped off to 6-6, and they said we've had enough. Obviously, Purdue or Missouri.
What was he when he took it over though? What was the year before he walked in?
I don't have.
That's what I'm saying. They were
Gary good Pinkel for a while under with Pinkel, and then I don't know. Did he follow Pinkel directly, or was there someone in between?
Yeah, well, he was on Pinkel's staff, and they gave him the keys to it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, they did. They probably fell off though, because I know Pinkel when he retired was doing really well. Wasn't he like winning the SEC East? So yeah. I mean, maybe he's not that good. I think it was a failure
on both sides.
Of Purdue and Odom.
I think
certainly a failure on Odom's part. I think he could have held out for a better job.
Dan Mullen taking the job, by the way. Shout out to Dan Mullen. Taking the UNLV job. With the Mountain West losing Colorado State, Boise State, Fresno State, and San Diego State, I was looking at UNLV's schedule next year, and I'm like, they're going to be in the playoffs. Dan Mullen is going to put them in the playoffs. I mean, unless Troy Calhoun fucks them over, which is certainly possible, I think like Barry Odom should have waited 1 year. He would have got pretty much any gig he wanted. To jump on Purdue is just crazy to me. I think it's the hardest place. I think it's the hardest job in the Big Ten. I don't think it's Rutgers. I don't think it's Northwestern. I think it's Purdue.
Yeah.
I
agree with you. It's a very hard job.
It's just what from both sides. I was confused on this. Yeah. What's that?
Any chance Dan Mullen can hold on to the FCS version of Tim Tebow, Matthew Saluka, bring him back on board at UNLV?
I don't think Vegas wants him.
That bridge has been burned, I believe.
Yeah.
But no, with his track record, whether it was Tebow, who ended up being a first-round draft pick, whether it's Dak Prescott, Tebow obviously won the Heisman, Dak Prescott, Alex Smith at Utah, he was the OC for Alex Smith, and then
Not too shabby.
Kyle Trask at Florida, right? He was in the Heisman mix, right? So like, I think he'll land. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think if you're UNLV, you're actually getting an upgrade, in my opinion. And we'll mix that with your conference downgrading. And speaking of which, we could key in on this. Northern Illinois is supposed to, I think, tomorrow accept the invite into the Mountain West Conference.
I don't like it.
Ooh, really? I didn't see that.
I mean, here's why. Let me play devil's advocate. I don't like it from a geography point of view. 1,000%.
I just don't like.
But this is a team. True, but they're adding UMass, so they're going to stay at the same number.
I don't like that either.
Well, that was happening regardless. But Northern Illinois is a team that has made, they have a BCS appearance, even though they got whooped. Even though that going into the fourth quarter, it was a closer game. They have several wins over FBS teams, including like Notre Dame, Power 5 teams. Notre Dame this past year. I mean, in that regard, if you're the Mountain West, you're saying, hey, we're getting a team that over the past 20 years has beaten a slew of Power 5 teams. Maybe it could work. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Patty C, you on board with Tommy Hammock?
Oh, I love Tommy Hammock, but I don't think Northern Illinois is going to be a contender in the Mountain West regularly. Although losing some of their best teams, maybe they'll have a chance. But what is interesting is what conference are North Dakota State and South Dakota State in? They're Missouri Valley, right?
Yeah. Montana State are Big Sky. North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Missouri Valley.
Missouri Valley, which is right in that Northern Illinois, area. And so maybe
that would have made more sense.
They opened the door then, geographically for North Dakota and South Dakota State.
Wanted to, so yeah.
I mean, they're probably there's probably a reason they haven't joined yet, but maybe geographically they're trying to push in that direction to hopefully eventually snag some of those schools, because those would be the real prizes. Those would be the real prizes for the Mountain West.
Yeah. Shout out to it's Merch Monday, right? Is today Monday?
Yeah,
it is Monday.
What's that promo code?
SGPN, I believe, right? I believe it's SGPN.
Where's Noah when you need
just? Yeah, hey Colby, I'm at the checkout of the SGPN website. If you throw me, I believe SGPN or TC. Try TCE SGPN, one of those two. We'll bring you home. Trackstar says, Dundee, you've got to get better. What are we talking about? I had a fire week last week. I had Navy money line. The hell were you doing? All right, Trackstar.
Patty C and I swung and
locked
on
Army.
Jeez.
I felt like I had an angle, but
I thought that was one of the easier caps of the whole year. Think about this. The more I thought about this game after our episode, I was like, you have the last 2 years, the way Navy lost. They lost Niumatolola's final game at the 1 yard line fumbling. And then the previous year, last year, or, I guess 2 years ago now, but they got stuffed on a quarterback sneak at the inch yard line, right? Like literally an inch away. And then you're like, Army just stormed the field. They just played in the conference championship. Monken's been on TV throwing shit at Navy. And you're like, dude, you just knew they were going to be laser focused. 2 weeks of prep. And honestly, Navy was better than their record. Some of those losses were when Horvath wasn't there. Horvath is a gigantic difference maker in that offense.
Yeah,
so,
he is.
Nailed that. And okay, a couple other more things. What do we got? We did Vick. Rolovich, my boy. I don't know if you had this on the bingo card. Cal Berkeley hiring Nick Rolovich?
Dude, within the last 2 months on this podcast, I joked about Cal hiring Rolovich, like pointing out that would be the most absurd thing. And yet, boom, between that and Harsin, I feel like Harsin isn't necessarily a Berkeley kind. Something is changing in the water in Berkeley, and
that's another one that I think them bringing College Game Day there and the result they have. Now, I don't have the figures in front of me. to throw them in with the other ones. But I think they're making a more dedicated effort to be better at football.
What I want to know is we saw them when they beat, Stanford, Mendoza, the quarterback, crying, saying he loves Cal. 2 weeks later, he's in the portal.
Peace.
Yeah. Trying to collect that payday. Well, have fun at I don't know. He's not that great. So I can't imagine. Like, didn't he come in because their starter got injured a year and a half ago?
Solid.
He'll
He'll find a home, but
yeah.
I mean, will it be a better home than Cal? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that and we saw our boy Reese Poffenberger land at North Texas represent. Chandler Rogers goes to UVA. Patty C, are you on board
Chandler
with that
Morris.
or what?
Yeah, he was 4th in the nation. Or
Chandler
5th in the
Rogers,
nation.
Chandler Morris. I mean, Chandler Morris.
Yeah, Chandler Morris. Yeah, 5th in the nation in passing yards. I think we'll take that.
Yeah. The transfer portal is going batshit crazy. We got to do an episode just for that because of shout out to Trackstar. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. We need to do a portal episode only because every time I refresh my page, it's like, holy shit. I know Colorado just landed the top player in the portal, a defensive tackle from Bama. Forget his name right now. I don't know. I don't know what to make of all this yet. We'll have to plug it in. That's an off-season episode. But yeah, let's get to it. We got games, all right? But before I do that, I want to let you know that the college football experience is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie's been running on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website. It's great on mobile. Plus, there's props for every game and the live dealer casino. And there's they even have new early cash out options too, which are always fun. Head over to MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Plus, I'm going to give you a little $10 casino chip. That's MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner. Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, props. You can sit back, copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard and still make cash, or you can build your own. That's what I like to do, and then Rhythm will adjust around what you like, and you can now track your props in the Rhythm app, which is great. They got college hoops, they got college football, they got NFL, they got NBA, they got it all over at Rhythm. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. I did want to ask you guys that we're back on the college football experience, but I want to ask you guys about Marshall being little bitches.
It's hard to blame them. The whole team quit.
Why? Like 14 players. I mean,
I can blame them for running two good coaches out of town, and I like seeing the players stand up for their guy, and everybody hit the portal.
Yeah, well, why accept the bid then, Patty? Like 4 days ago, so all the other schools from other universities went home. So by them not doing that, they committed to this, and then
had the dudes already decommitted at that point? Is the question. If they had, then yes.
Well, they should still expect it. It wasn't. That's not even a huge number, though. I mean, we've seen many bowl games.
True. That 14 JMU guys went to Indiana alone in the portal last year.
To me, they were just little bitches, and I hope the Sun Belt, because I hope the Sun Belt deals them something for that.
And then, anyway, screw the committee for or whoever, the bowl commission for giving Army Louisiana State, or not Louisiana State, Louisiana Tech. That was a lazy ass, home to, because Independence Bowl is in.
That's because everyone else is gone. That's what I'm saying.
Everyone
like Marshall
already left.
Marshall fucked this up. Everyone else had been gone. Everyone else is at the portal. They cleaned out their fucking dorms. They're wherever they're staying at. Like this is on Marshall. This is on Marshall, in my opinion. Like this.
Yeah.
Had you just said we're not willing, they would have gave it to someone back then. But now a week has passed, and you're trying to get people that are still there. You know what I mean? Like
it does make you wonder if the likes of any of these other teams really do value those 3 weeks of practice or however many weeks of practice. In this case, probably 1 or 2 in the bowl season, because I think Cincinnati was the top academic team that was 5-7 that qualified. I think Satterfield probably should have jumped at the opportunity to play in the bowl game against Army. A, for his own job security at the chance to win that, but B, for the extra practice to get better, and they give him a terrible Louisiana Tech. It's just such a disgrace to Army season,
But that's on, once again, like they always fuck this up. You know what I mean? Like they always do this to the little guys. Once again, this is why the playoff is great. Because at least one of the little guys gets a shot. You know what I mean? Or two, if you count SMU as one that was a little guy 12 months ago.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to this. I know we touched on this, but I just wanted to youtube.com/the college experience. Hop on over there. I wanted to key back in on this. Wait, why does this happen? People fuck with my studio. There we go. I know we touched on this a little bit on the last episode. This is the game going on. Tomorrow is it? I believe. Yeah, tomorrow, 9:00 Eastern. Memphis taking on West Virginia in Frisco, Texas. Dub V has a bunch of people in the portal. Rich Rod's not coaching this game. Meanwhile, Memphis and Silverfish and Hennigan's, they're starting quarterback. A lot of the guys playing for Memphis, so I'm laying the 4.5. NC Nick, what are you doing here in the Frisco Bowl?
I'm taking the points. I think West Virginia is a better team, even with a somewhat depleted roster and no head coach. I don't think most of the big names, maybe you could argue Josiah Trotter, the linebacker, is a big name. He's not playing. He's in the portal. But I think a lot of the big names they're playing. So I'm taking West Virginia.
Patty C, what are you doing here in Frisco?
Well, statistically, Memphis was the far better team all year. A level of competition may be part of that, but significantly better. I want to say 22nd offense versus 59, and then defensively, I believe it's in the 50s versus the low 100s for West Virginia. I think 103, 55 to 103. So Memphis statistically far better. Hennigan, 13th in the nation in passing. Mario Anderson from Memphis, 14th in the nation in rushing. So as long as both of those guys are playing, I think the ball should be moving. And who knows what kind of turnover. I think there's probably a system change going on with Neil Brown. I know this. Let me throw a little old man history at you. When I was a senior in high school, we played Robinson High School, which was one of the state powerhouses. Their quarterback, Garrett Shires, had a scholarship to West Virginia, and it got pulled when Rich Rod took over the job, and he ended up going to Harvard, so I think he upgraded. But just to show, Rich Rod's not afraid to pull a scholarship, or who knows what he's telling Green in the portal. Do you guys think Green will be a good starter in that system for him, for West Virginia?
No, he graduates, right?
Oh, he graduates.
No, I don't think so. Does he?
Garrett Green, Green's got graduate. I thought Mac was telling me he graduates.
Maybe he graduates. Either way,
I thought he was younger. No, maybe. Well, I mean, if Mac said it, trust Mac. But
yeah, Mac. No,
you're right. I think he's a gunner. So this is his last game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe he balls out, but I just feel like there's such a transition probably going on right now that West Virginia isn't dialed into this game in particular, and Memphis is. So I got Memphis covering this one. It's a big spread in Memphis's favor, but I'll still take Memphis.
There we go. I'm with you. Next up, JMU Dukes are in Del Boca Vista and Boca Raton Bowl, taking on these tops, Western Kentucky. JMU's laying 6.5. Alonzo Barrett not playing. See that, Patty C? Your boy? What's going on there?
Just had surgery, I believe, on crutches. Who knows how long he's out for?
Talk job.
This is a tough one.
I feel like I got to take Western Kentucky, knowing you don't have your quarterback. Do I think the Sun Belt is better than the Conference USA by a ton? But 6.5. Give me these tops with the backup quarterback for JMU. Nick?
Well, it's kind of interesting what a lot of the transfers for Western Kentucky are doing, because most of them are playing, including Caden Veltkamp, the quarterback. So he hit the portal, but he plans on playing. So, I mean, if you're the coach, don't you want a potential guy that might start next year playing? Or is this just like a showcase game to say, well,
didn't their backup hit the portal too?
Yes.
Still,
yes, and
still
TJ Finley, he's not playing, but maybe I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. Maybe Helt just believes that if his team can look good offensively, that'll attract transfers and better recruits in. So kind of interesting what they're doing there. But I'm going to go Western Kentucky getting points here, definitely.
Yeah, Patty, are you going with your boys or what?
It's tough to say. I don't even know who's starting for JMU at quarterback. I have to look into that. But
I thought I saw Morris was starting.
Okay. I mean, a lot of JMU fans would argue that should have happened all along. Do I disagree necessarily that in keeping Barrett in there throughout the year, he had moments of greatness and moments of terribleness? Overall, I think his capability is as a very high-level quarterback, but he has to mature a lot and work out a lot of the kinks. And so maybe that was this year. This is a year of growth, a good year to do it, year one for Chesney. But here he is injured. Who knows what happens with him? Look, JMU, two out of 3 years so far, we've lost to Clay Helton. So Tyson Helton, I can't bet against him here. Let's go Western Kentucky to cover 6.5. JMU outright, though.
Oh, there you go. And feel free to lock up any of these. These bowl games are fucking hard to do, though. Now you got the California Golden Bears heading down to the bullshit SoFi Stadium, most overrated stadium in sports. We got the Coliseum and the Rose Bowl right there. You're going to play that bullshit. Cal laying 1. I've turned down free tickets to this the past 3 years, I think it is, or 2 years. I think it was 3 years. The past 3 years, I've turned down free tickets to this bowl game. UNLV, coachless. This is a tough game, dude, to understand. So I don't believe Mendoza's playing. I think Chandler Rogers is playing. I thought I saw that tweet.
Right. And Ricky White, I think, has opted out, the star receiver for UNLV.
Gosh, why is everyone a bitch?
Haj Malik Williams is still there, and that's good enough for me. I mean, I think this is his 5th or 6th year senior, so this is definitely his last game. Tough loss to Boise last time out. I'm a big fan of his. I think he wants to go out a winner. I got the Running Rebs here.
Wow, this is Williams' last game. Are we sure that Sluka wouldn't decide to come on? But yeah, he's probably gone at UNLV. But
dude, the whole city hates him. There's no chance he's lacing up.
Yeah, that's true. It's in LA. This is a true neutral site thing. You know, Berkeley down to LA or Vegas over to LA.
Be at this game. No one's going to be at this game.
I agree. I have to. You're rolling with Cal. What is it? Chandler Rogers, 48% completion percentage. Granted, only 25 attempts, so small body of work there. But I don't know. This is tough. Yeah, maybe I'll go Cal. Maybe I'll go Cal with you.
I mean, I'm not locking any of these because I have no fucking idea, really.
Like, but Cal sucks so bad.
Cal's coaching continuity, I think, is the reason why I'm taking them.
Yeah.
All right.
Fair.
Next up, the New Orleans Bowl. They could be playing this at Yeoman's. You're playing this at that bullshit Superdome. Georgia Southern, they still have their coach, Clay Helton. I don't know if that's a good thing, but they're taking on Sam Houston State. Casey Keeler's now at Temple. I'll lay the 6. It's so tough. Like, I feel like bowl games are hard back in the day because you were like judging teams off a month break, but this is way harder when you have like interim head coach for one game. They're already looking for another head coach. I'm going to take Southern minus the points. I think they're better than Sam Houston too. So, Nick, what are you doing here?
I think you have to. Not only is Keeler gone, but so they lost 21 scholarship players for Sam Houston are in the portal. So, but they're still playing, to your point. I guess it's not that uncommon to have 20 plus people exiting. So
yeah, Marshall's bitches.
I mean, when you see that, you got to go Georgia Southern.
Patty, what are you doing here?
I mean, what would you say? I know Helton has typically been kind of an offensive guy, but their output hasn't been phenomenal this year. Yes, they got 42 against South Carolina State and FCS earlier in the year, but aside from that, I believe their high point total was 34. So this isn't a dynamic.
No, they scored 45 against Boise.
Okay, in a losing effort. Wow, that's true, but that was to open in the season. So they haven't been a dynamic offense since then. Now, obviously, Sam Houston is still struggling on offense for the most part, but they find themselves in dogfights. However, the games that they have lost recently have been Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State, which I think are both more or less offensive teams. So assuming that Georgia Southern rather, has a little can control, I guess, the possessions through their offense, then maybe they give Sam Houston a little bit of trouble. So I'll roll. That's a lot of points. You know what? That's too many points. Let me go Sam Houston. 6. That's way too many.
How about this coachless game? Cure Bowl. Ohio. Tim Albin's now at Charlotte.
Oh, I love bowl games. Patty C used to love bowl games.
State. Rich Rod's at West Virginia. Ohio's laying 3, and I think a bunch of Jacksonville State players are in the portal. I got no fucking idea, man. This is the hardest game to project. Where it's in Orlando, I think Jacksonville State wins this game. I'm going to say, give me Jack State's backups against Ohio's backups. Nick?
Yeah, I think the location, that might matter here. I don't know how anybody feels that great to bet on this just because of what's left on both teams and both staffs. But I think Jacksonville State was the better team. So I'm going to assume they have more depth as well. And maybe some of those backups are better.
Patty?
It's such a shame because both of these teams were so dominant in their conference.
This would have been a fun game, right? This would have been a fun game if everything was intact.
Yeah.
Why can't you just stay like that's what's fucked up about college football. You want to complain about college football, you know, a lot of people say it's turning into the pros. I disagree, but I'm saying like this is where you complain. The calendar is just completely fucked. You're taking what would be an awesome game, potentially a classic, and you're making it useless because these coaches need to be at their new spots because the portal opens. If you just move back the portal, I bet you those coaches stay.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I will say this. I believe Huff is a senior. I think Stewart is a senior for Jacksonville State. So assuming those guys stay and play, that favors Jacksonville State a little bit. But however,
I do think Parker Navarro is the same thing, the quarterback for Ohio.
Okay. I think Ohio is my play here. I think Jacksonville State, who knows? I'm sure the assistant coach who's taken over and calling plays for Jacksonville State knows Rich Rod's system well enough, but I think that's a little bit of a specific system to his, know-how of the X's and O's, whereas Ohio just goes out and plays Big Ten style football. So that lends itself to Ohio getting the dub here.
All right. Tulane without all their quarterbacks. Wait, their top 2 quarterbacks transferred. So Ty Thompson, the Oregon transfer, he's in the portal, but he's going to play. Just my brain hurts.
Showcase game. Showcase game.
Yeah, showcase game. Tulane is taking on Florida in Tampa. What a bull! Tulane had like a great fucking 9-win season. I guess Florida had a 7-win season, but the Gators. I mean, I think you got to take the Gators here, right?
Tulane 13.5's a lot, though.
I think the
third string quarterback.
I think the fact that some are all staying means something here, and I think everybody's looking at it and penciling Florida because of Mensa leaving and Horton leaving. And is Florida really excited for this game because they know those guys are gone also? So I mean, is Florida really getting up for this game? I'll get Tulane to cover here.
I'm gonna lay it, but I mean, this is an old SEC battle. Nick, you think they should go back to that Florida logo?
Not really.
No, Patty, you like that old Florida logo?
It looks more like a lizard, let's be honest, but it's kind of fun. Feeling it.
And see, next thing is pro lizard, and then you ask him about a very lizard-like animal.
You know what's a shame here is that we've had this is the 5th game, and we've had no bet so far because how can you?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you feel super confident about something. What was the Memphis? That's the kind of the one that Memphis and West Virginia. I don't know though. They're favoring Memphis so heavily in that one that you can't really bet that one either. So
that's the one I feel best about so far is West Virginia covering that. But I think we got a couple bowl games coming up. I'm actually going to bet here. So
yeah,
but give me Tulane.
Shout out to Baller123 because I tried TC SGP. I don't know them, brother. I'll have to fly. I'm hosting the show, so I can't.
Try to shoot. If you're on Twitter, try to shoot Noah a message. Noah's on top of that.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Merch Monday.
Let me ask you this.
Tell him it's Merch Monday and hit him up and see. I don't have that information in front of me. What's up, Pat?
Tulane 2 straight losses and a really ugly one at Army. And they kind of got slapped around by Memphis too. Has something changed there? From prior to that, they were rolling. They outscored the previous.
If I may, I kind of think they had a very easy schedule. And that was part of my reason why I took Tulane to get to the AAC championship is their non-con was challenging. Kansas State, Oklahoma, Louisiana. And I didn't even think Louisiana was going to be that good this year.
Yeah, very challenging.
But in conference, South Florida was 6-6. And even with that, I don't even think they're a 6-6 team. I just think the AAC was that bad. UAB, not good. Rice, not good. North Texas, not good. Charlotte, not good. Temple, not good. Navy, they got without Horvath. And then they got Memphis and they lost. They got Army and they lost. So, what did you really beat? Now, they should have beaten Kansas State. They got robbed on a call. But I also can make a case of how good was Tulane really.
Maybe. I mean, early in the season, I thought they were a legitimately good team. They certainly faded. I mean, like I said, before that, they had outscored their previous 3 opponents. Obviously, Navy without Horvath, a pretty big issue. But I want to say 34-3, 52-6, 35-0. That's, averaging about a 44-3 kind of win margin there. Yeah. Dominant. And then, boom, they go and lose 2 in a row. So something happened at the end there. Maybe they just played much better teams. But either way, Florida.
They beat Louisiana by 8. That was their only win. Yeah, that was their only win against a team with a winning record. Oh no, they had Navy, but no Horvath, right? So I guess 2 and 3, no, 2 and 4 against teams with a winning record. I don't know. I think they're probably decent. Yeah.
Back half of the season for Florida, I guess if you include Tennessee, which is toward actually in the front half of the season, but overtime loss on the road to Tennessee, that's respectable. Only 14-point loss against Georgia. They did get housed against Texas, but LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State, 3 wins down the stretch. Pretty nice. I think Florida is the play here, right? Nick, you agreed? What'd you say?
No, he went to Tulane. I went to Florida. Yeah.
Okay.
Still don't know that I'm betting. I mean, I'll probably end up betting some of these when it happens, but I don't have a great feel in any of these. Let's see if this one, Coastal Carolina, guess what? They're playing a home game. So I know I had a controversial take on Twitter where I said, that you shouldn't be playing a home game. And they're like, haven't you been lobbying that you should play on neutral sites on college campuses? And I'm like, yes, you're right. But I just feel like it's unfair to the opposing bowl team if you have this thing of saying we're going to meet at a neutral site, and then
right.
that
context matters.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. Coastal Carolina is in Conway, South Carolina, Brooks Stadium there at home against UTSA. UTSA is laying 8.5 points, and this one I will lock up. Wait a second. Coastal lost both quarterbacks, didn't they? They did. Vasco and this is so hard.
Kim. I know
both
Kim's
hit the
gone.
portal.
Well,
they
lost 5 starters on defense, including their best pass rusher.
This shit is so hard to handle.
Lubin. I actually like this game. I'm locking up UTSA. UTSA had a nice, end of the season. McCown, that offense started going. I think sometimes, if you're Coastal, I think if you're playing at home, maybe there's more distractions playing actually in Conway. I think UTSA was definitely the better team. They have more momentum coming into this game. And then with the people transferring out of Coastal Carolina, this is the first bowl game that I'm actually going to bet.
You're right.
With
I'm
UTSA.
I'm with you. You sold me. This
All
is
right.
This is an NC special. Give me these Roadrunners. Meep. Plus, how many students will be there? That's another thing is if you're playing it on campus,
school isn't even in anymore. Yeah, exactly.
Trying to look at these teams' schedules to get an idea of who is, has played better throughout the season, especially during the second half of the season. It's very tough because UTSA has beaten the teams they're supposed to beat for the most part and lost to the teams they're supposed to lose to. Coastal Carolina's lost a lot down the stretch, but they've been playing pretty darn good teams, whether that be Louisiana, Marshall, Georgia Southern, JMU. Obviously, Troy, not that great, but, I agree with you guys that Coastal has probably looked a little worse, and the win against Memphis, a really nice look for UTSA. on that, I guess I have to go UTSA, but 8.5 is a huge number on the road to cover.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's tough.
That's too big of a number. Give me
UTSA
Coastal.
play,
Huh?
and I have another play. That I liked. I mean, this next one. And by the way, this Coastal Carolina UTSA game's on Monday. We're skipping past the playoffs. We'll go back to them in a second. On Monday,
good
is this game right here. Northern Illinois taking on Fresno State in the Potato Bowl. In Boise, Idaho, the French fries will be dumped on somebody. This is a big moment. First off, this series goes back to 1972. Northern Illinois is a new Mountain West team, replacing the old Mountain West team, Fresno State. In Boise, Idaho, old Mountain West. So it's kind of fascinating in those regards. Northern Illinois is laying 3. I think this is foolish. From what I understand, a lot of players at Fresno State hit the portal. Well, I know Mikey Keene and some of their other players, but I heard that they were upset because they love Tim Skipper, their head coach. I think they're going to play for his final game. He is no longer the head coach after this game. I think Fresno is going to put it on Northern Illinois, no matter what quarterback they use. Give me these dogs. Because another thing is Northern Illinois' quarterback left too. He went to Wake Forest, but now what's great is he now transfers. He was at Wake Forest for 48 hours. Clawson retires. Now he's back in the portal and he's scheduling a visit with
Never mind.
What are you doing here, Nick? I love Fresno here. This is actually one that I actually feel decent about.
This one was actually tough for me because with Mikey Keene out, I have no trust in the very inexperienced backups that Fresno has at quarterback. I mean, the two guys we're talking about.
But what about Ethan Hampton being out?
I think Fresno needs the quarterback to make that offense go more so than Northern Illinois. And the backups for Fresno have maybe 5 or less career pass attempts in college. I want to go Northern Illinois. No lock battle. Not betting this one. Too many moving pieces.
Patty, what are you doing here at the world famous Potato Bowl?
Well, Northern Illinois, the far more impressive statistical team. I believe 68 versus 106 offensively in Northern Illinois' favor. And then defensively, number 6 versus number 50, or no, number 5 versus number 54. So Northern Illinois lights out defensive team. They're just a far better statistical play. And then I think Fresno down the stretch kind of struggled, to finish strong, losing 3 of their last 4, Northern Illinois winning 3 of their last 4. I think that lends itself to Northern Illinois being the play here. Covering 3 in Boise.
I mean, Fresno beat Colorado State the second game, ruined their chances of 2 games ago, ruined their chances of winning the Mountain West or playing.
Colorado State was phony.
True, but Northern Illinois is phony.
Notre Dame.
Yes, but they also lost to.
That seems like a long time ago.
They lost to They lost to your Ball State team that fired their head coach. That's how good they were. Next up, final game.
Christmas Eve.
Yes, the Hawaii Bowl. What, dude? When we were kids, they used to play games on Christmas. They need to bring that back.
Yeah.
I think I want to watch
the
Fun
not.
League. You
No
bastards. College basketball is failing too. What are we supposed to just sip hot chocolate and reminisce about the good times? Right?
Watch NBA.
Yeah.
LeBron for the 50th year in a row. Yeah.
This game, I am intrigued here, and I do have a lock here. South Florida is 6-6, and I think they're a phony 6-6. I don't think they're any good. They're heading cross country to the island where we know to take on Ken Niumatalolo and San Jose State, who I think was a good team all year. And you know where Ken Niumatalolo is from?
I like that angle.
He's from Hawaii. You know where he's a legend as a football player? Hawaii.
On the island.
Yes.
And we're a few island boys ourselves, right?
That's right.
Oh, you better believe it. I'm locking up. San Jose State -5. I think they're a much better team. Nick Nash is playing. Let's go. NC Nick, what are you doing here?
Completely agree. I think the coaching advantage definitely on San Jose State's favor. I think down the stretch, South Florida played a bunch of garbage, while San Jose State, had a very tough schedule. They got wins over Stanford, an ACC team. They got wins over Oregon State in Corvallis, and they played UNLV and Boise. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think they're the better team, and everything's lining up for a San Jose State cover here. Let's go.
Double lock. Can we make it a triple lock? Can we at least do one bowl game triple lock?
Well, here's my pushback: is even though USF lost against some pretty mid teams down the stretch, they got slapped by Navy, who we said was a good team, lost by 3 touchdowns, and then lost at Rice by a touchdown. But they completely dominated. That was a bad loss. But a 33-point win against Tulsa, a 44-point win or a 34-point win against Charlotte, and a big win against Florida Atlantic. So to end the season. So I think they got the offense.
Got fired.
True, but he got it rolling. But I will say that Niumatalolo is a much better coach than what Golesh has faced. I think he probably is the type of coach that can deal with Golesh's little gimmicks. So, yeah, I'll roll with you guys. Sure, let's lock it. Triple lock.
There we go.
I told you, you come here, we're going to give you some winners.
Spinal.
Sorry, didn't mean to hit that. Triple lock on Sparty. Let's go. All right, now it is time.
FCS playoffs.
Now the first game is Friday. First game is Friday, and we got I just love the thought of Notre Dame hosting a playoff game. A lot of people think I hate Notre Dame. No, I love the Golden Dome.
Good chance of snow too.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Let me quote the. This was via the National Weather Service. Snow is in the forecast for 3 of the 4 college football sites on the eve or the day of the campus games, according to the National Weather Service. That's football is finally back. All right. It's finally back. Friday night, the Indiana Hoosiers are heading into the Golden Dome to take on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Series goes back to 1898. God, this game is beautiful. What this is. I'm curious which game you want to see most, because I feel like this one is up there for me. Notre Dame's laying 7.5. I think we've kind of made our points on the previous episodes. I'm locking up Indiana. And I think Indiana has the blueprint to beat this team. As far as like what they're capable of. When you see Indiana's rush defense is actually really good. Right? They have the number 1 rush defense in the nation. Now, some of that is the schedule they play, but also I thought they did fairly well against Ohio State in their rushing attack, right? I think
they gave Ohio State trouble. Ohio State resorted to the pass like they didn't do against Michigan.
Their D tackle, what's his name? The African guy from JMU. He's going to be
Walker.
No, it's like
he's a linebacker
or something.
That doesn't sound African.
No. What's
oh gosh, the big guy. Yeah, I know.
That dude is gonna be that dude's gonna be a day 1 draft pick in the NFL. Let me see if I can grab it.
Mikhail Kamara.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
That sounds right.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. I think that can neutralize the Notre Dame rushing attack. I don't think they're intimidated by Notre Dame's receivers. I told you this. Part of the reasons why I like Mitchell Evans is I think Notre Dame knows that that's their edge. And I think the weather will also slow down the game some, right?
Yeah.
And then the other side, and the big question to me is if Indiana's O-line can handle Notre Dame's D-line, because that you go back and watch the Ohio State game. Now, Ohio State probably has the best defensive line in the country, arguably. But Notre Dame definitely is like a top 20 defensive line. So can they handle that? But
although only 51st in rush defense. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame?
So, yeah.
True. And I think Rourke is, we saw him rush back. He had a surgery like 7 days before the Ohio State game. I think he'll be a lot better in this outing. Now, the weather might have a thing on this, but I think Indiana just they're a team built to me to bang with Notre Dame. Like their philosophy, what they want to do. I think they can stay in this game. I don't think Notre Dame has played anybody with a pulse, especially defensively. I think Riley Leonard's going to be clearly going up against the best defense he's been against in a long time. So I'm taking the points and I'm sprinkling the money line. Lock it up. Nick?
I disagree. It seems like most of the chat is with you on Indiana. I mean, a couple things here. I look at Indiana's road games this year. They had one tough road game. First off, they only played 4. 3 of the road games were against teams that are 5-7 or worse. So you had the one road game in Columbus at Ohio State. We know how that ended up. I mean, they were limited to 68 yards passing, 85 yards rushing. They gave up 5 sacks. I think Notre Dame's defense is probably comparable with Ohio State's. And the running game that you mentioned, Indiana has done a very good job stopping the run. How many running quarterbacks have they played this year? I would almost argue none. So I think Riley Leonard and his legs is going to make all the difference opening up the ground game for Notre Dame, because you got to pay attention to the couple running backs they got. You got to pay attention to Mitchell Evans. They got a couple guys on the outside who are serviceable. I think Riley Leonard and his legs make all the difference here, and especially the fact that we're at home at night. I mean, I'm going Notre Dame laying the points, and I'll lock battle you, my friend.
Ooh. Does Aiden Childs or Will Howard count as a running quarterback?
Will Howard, not as much as Riley Leonard.
Okay. What about whoever Michigan had?
No, because there was Davis Warren at the time.
Yeah, they didn't play. Okay.
Let me say though, you got to play that lock battle music, but not just yet, because
Will Howard ran for 131 yards this year.
Okay, hold on. Patty, I want your take, but also I just want to throw in. Well, I know you could take a look at this and say, well, Notre Dame, what have they done? To me, like what's the win? Getting Mike, their best win is A&M, which was Mike Elko starting the wrong quarterback in year 1 of knowing a brand new personnel. What better time to get Mike Elko?
Do you want to bring up best wins and try to defend Indiana on that?
No, I'm just making the point that I don't think Notre Dame's really beat anybody that good. Right?
Well, Notre Dame than Indiana.
When Notre Dame played one other top 5 defense in the country this year, it was Northern Illinois. We know what happened there. And Indiana is 40 yards per game better than Northern Illinois defensively. I will say this. Notre Dame number 10 defensively, Ohio State number 1 defensively, about a 55-yard per game difference there. So a pretty big gulf. So I think Indiana will have a little more success offensively. Plus, I just think Ohio State had a better game plan that Indiana wasn't ready for. I don't know if Indiana will be more ready for Notre Dame. I think Freeman will probably have something.
Did the game plan involve dropping a fucking punt and then giving up a punt return? That's the edge maybe Notre Dame could find that I'm not seeing. Special teams killed them in the Ohio State. Yeah,
they did kill them, but they were getting dominated. They by the time they lost momentum, Ohio State's physicality did start to wear on them.
Ohio State's defense. Indiana was still keeping Ohio State's offense in check. I thought Indiana did a great job on
I'll say this. Late in the game, Ohio State started being able to run the ball when Indiana was worn down. But for the first 2.5 quarters, Indiana was getting penetration, was spilling the running back to the outside, and then their pursuit would lock Ohio State's running game down, and then Ohio State would resort to the pass, and Indiana didn't have an answer.
Had 316 yards of offense that game. 316 yards of offense. That's a great defensive performance. They only rushed for 115 yards. I think they're very well capable of putting this Notre Dame, offense in check.
Yeah, I agree. Number 1 rush defense, Notre Dame completely predicated on their run, number 10 rushing offense, and number 101 pass offense. So especially in the snow, if Notre Dame needs to rely on that run, Indiana is very well suited to stop that. There's going to be a defensive slugfest probably. I think Indiana certainly has enough to cover. If you give me that hook at 7.5, but I think Indiana on the money lines to play. So
last thing I'll say is that I knew Patty was going to take JMU West, and I'm not sure how Patty has picked Notre Dame games this year. I know Colby has not picked Notre Dame in a long time, and that hasn't gone too well for you because they have been covering large spreads. How many in a row? Nobody. 7 straight covers in a row.
Shout out to Noah Beanick saying 50% off the SGPN store, promo code Monday for Merch Monday. Nick, let me ask you this though. Snow football? Riley Leonard. He's from Alabama. He played at Duke for 3 years. Nathan Rourke, he was at Ohio the past 4 years and he's from Canada. Who's going to make Leonard, that? Who's going to fumble that ball in a big moment there?
Riley Leonard is a bad weather quarterback. That he is not like some aired out, soft, small quarterback. I think he'll be just fine in the elements.
I think Rourke played in many snow games there in British Columbia, and then at Ohio there at Eden Stadium.
Never fade a Canadian in the snow. That's a rule as old as time. I'll say this. Well, hasn't Jeremiah Love and some of Notre Dame's offensive line been a little banged up? I know that they're going to play in the game, but maybe injuries play a factor here too.
Well, that's maybe a benefit of not playing in a conference championship game. I mean, granted, neither did Indiana, but Notre Dame's had 3 weeks now to rest up.
Yeah, that's true. Notre Dame has needed the rest.
Indiana needed that for Rourke. Rourke off that surgery. I think he needed that, So, all right, continuing on. We jump. That's Friday night. Saturday, 9 a.m. Well, if you're on the West, noon on the East. Swinging that big D is these SMU Mustangs coming into State College, Pennsylvania, where Penn State is laying 8.5. Oh, man, this game's on TNT. One of the things I do appreciate is that the FCS playoffs is on ABC, nationally televised, and you need cable to watch the playoffs here. FCS, great win.
Does anybody have cable anymore?
Well, you know what I mean. SMU's catching 8.5. This series goes back to 1948. I have been thinking about this. I thought this was the hardest game.
I agree. This is the one I feel worst about. Yep.
Part of me is like, Penn State's at home, whiteout, and then I get reminded that I'm like, the students aren't there. They're going to have to travel back for this.
And it's not going to be as many students in that building because we've heard from Penn State students that a lot of the tickets are going to people that are willing to pay for them, pay big money for them.
Now, it was 48 degrees in Dallas, I think, today. But still, this is going to be 18 fucking degrees. Woo! Chance of snow. I still think I have to take the points. I still think with all of that, James Franklin laying 8.5. I just think SMU could stay within that number. I don't feel great about it. No lock. But give me the Stangs and the points. I think they feel disrespected with the loss to Clemson. I think they might be able to do some things on the offensive side of the ball that Penn State hasn't seen. Speaking of taking on elite mobile quarterbacks. Has Penn State really taken on an elite mobile quarterback?
I mean, would you?
I don't think they have. Oh, Oregon, Dylan Gabriel. But yeah. I was looking at the regular season, but they lost that game. So no, he's not elite. But yeah,
that's true. They played mostly.
He's mobile because he's not elite.
They played mostly Big Ten schools. That's why. And bad
mostly
offenses, statue quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I think Jennings can pose some problems there. I am the reason why I don't have a good feel is SMU Rhett Lashley runs the variation of the air raid and 18 degrees. I always think how efficient can you be in that?
That ball is going to be a cinder block.
Yeah.
Now let me help you with the argument then, because I also like SMU with the points here. Against Clemson, they held Clemson to 64 yards rushing as a team. They held Maffa to 13 rushes, 28 yards, held Klubnik to 14 rushes, 21 yards, outrushed Clemson 154-64. So I think that's a good sign that they can also potentially slow down the Penn State running game. Obviously, there's a home field advantage, but Penn State, they haven't gone undefeated at home since 2019. They've been known to drop a game or two, and the noon kick definitely helps SMU. It won't be cold as it would be later. It won't be as loud as it would have been later. And Kevin Jennings is just a playmaker. And I
heard the precipitation probably won't start until a little later, maybe in the second half, if at all. So on a, dry playing surface, presumably, that definitely plays in SMU's favor.
And the fact that the way SMU settled into the ACC championship game in the second half, and specifically the fourth quarter, and even in a losing effort, I think that gives them confidence in order to go up against another, big name team, just because they outscored Clemson 17-7 in the fourth quarter. So I could see a scenario where Penn State also wins by 2 touchdowns. I agree, Colby. This is my least favorite one, but I think I want to bet at least a little bit on all the playoff games. So give me SMU and the points.
Patty, what are you doing here?
I do think weather is such, and precipitation in particular, is such a huge factor in this game because Kevin Jennings is one of the more efficient passers in the country. The only two other guys that Penn State played that were in the top 20 of passer efficiency rating were Will Howard and Dylan Gabriel, who they both took an L to. So if Kevin Jennings can do what he does, which is move around and find open receivers, then in a track meet, SMU down the stretch might find a way to pull away when Penn State runs out of bullets, which they inevitably do because they still don't have that explosive of an offense. But if the weather plays a factor at all, and I just feel like Penn State's so physically dominant compared to what SMU's used to that they could dominate SMU in that kind of game.
Do we think SMU is live on to win this?
This might shock me because Franklin, but I don't feel as good as the other ones.
I feel like just Penn State almost beat Ohio State, and they played Oregon pretty damn well. Like Penn State is probably a legit top 5 team. So I don't know. I'm riding Penn State to cover here.
Okay.
All right. Next up, same time, we got the Dakota Marker. This happened earlier in the year, folks. All right. This is at the Fargo Dome, that filthy bullshit outside the Dyke House. But unfortunately, North Dakota State won that game. So the tiebreaker they got, and they got seated higher because of that, essentially. This is a fascinating game to me because not only is it a historic rivalry that goes back 120 years, this was a crazy game earlier in the year. 13-9 win by North Dakota State on a big drive late in that game. Since then, South Dakota State hasn't lost a game. I know if you watched the South Dakota State game last week, they had a players-only meeting after that loss to North Dakota State. So now you get the revenge factor. South Dakota State's back-to-back national champs. Obviously, North Dakota State prior to that winning national championships, a bunch of them. South Dakota State road favorite, laying 2.5. I'm going to take North Dakota State. I think North Dakota State's going to bounce back, and I think they're the team to beat in the FCS this year. I think South Dakota State is good, but not as good as years past.
I think you are sleeping on Montana State pretty hard.
I am taking – I'm talking about this game, though.
Well, I know, but you're saying that North Dakota State's the team to beat. I think Montana State is –
I think they are. We'll see. But I think you just take North Dakota State on the money line. You don't need the 2.5. Nick?
Well, first off, I think it's fantastic that last weekend all the Montana and Dakota schools won easily. They all covered. It just shows you where really the power of FCS football is. It's between those 3 states. I agree. I think in the first game, North Dakota State made things really hard on Gronowski, the Jackrabbit quarterback. He only averaged 3.9 yards per pass. I mean, Isaiah Davis is on the Jets. The Janke twins are gone. You were in the Fargo Dome. Before that win earlier in the year by North Dakota State, South Dakota State had actually won 5 in a row in this series, surprisingly. I think they lose this. I think North Dakota State starts putting together a little, consecutive wins themselves against the Jackrabbits. Give me the Bison.
Is this game? What are the odds this game's better than SMU Penn State?
Is that the same time?
Same exact time. Like I said,
dude,
why would they do this? Why would
100% chance this game's better than SMU Penn State.
I wouldn't go that far, you hipsters.
Dude, it's 100% because even if they don't like it, regardless of competitiveness, which I would expect this game to be more competitive, potentially, and stylistically, it's more compelling. They hate each other more. It's a humongous rivalry. It's way better.
Yeah. But you're gonna need multiple TVs Saturday morning for this. But Patty, what do you take?
By the way, does ESPN Plus have a quad box feature?
Yes, they do. But this is on ABC, dude. This is not ESPN
this
Plus.
One's on ABC. Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was about to say that last weekend I'm trying to watch Division III football, and I'm limited to one game. Kind of disappointed. I don't know. Maybe I'm
you
just
can
not
do. They have a quad box option. Yeah.
Okay. Both these teams completely dominant, but I think you're right. I think it's a coin flip of a game, especially in the Fargo Dome. So you don't need the 2.5 to take North Dakota State, and you might as well money line it. But do I think South Dakota State's going to win? I do think they're going to win. But I think the odds are, and the money should be toward North Dakota State. So, but still, I think South Dakota State will win. I don't know.
Favorite, though, but yeah,
I know. How do I say this? I guess I'm going North Dakota State, but I think South Dakota State wins by 1 or 2 points. So I think the play is North Dakota State, but I would favor South Dakota State to win this outright. But still, you might as well money line it for North Dakota State because I think there's about a 47% chance they win on the money line. So the payout's probably there.
Huh. All right. Well, at that same time in Durham, North Carolina, NC Nick, I tried to ask him if he wanted to go to this. He told me to kick rocks. All right. Grandview. Grandview is taking on Kaiser Permanente. All right. We got Kaiser, the Seahawks from West Palm Beach. Grandview is from Iowa. Battling for the NAIA championship. This is one where I think Durham, North Carolina hurts. It hurts Grandview because Kaiser's going to be able to throw that ball all around the field.
The speed should be on the Florida boys, right?
The South Florida
I'm
speed.
taking Kaiser to get it done. You too, NC Nick?
Yeah, I think I faded them last 2 weeks, and that didn't turn out very well. So I'm jumping on the Seahawk bandwagon here.
Durham, North Carolina, 44 high, 34 or 35 low. Not exactly South Florida weather there for Kaiser. Maybe Grandview has a little bit of an advantage from a weather standpoint, but still, I got to go Kaiser. Give me the Seahawks.
At that same time, you got Johns Hopkins. The winner goes to the championship game. Heading to Alliance, Ohio. NC Nick, you ever been to Alliance?
I don't think so. I'm not. No, I don't even know where Alliance, Ohio is.
Take on
Doubting
Mount
you're
Union.
missing it.
I'm curious now.
It's the home of a lot of championships. I got to take Mount Union.
At home.
I tried to take those Maryland boys last week, and Mount Union put it on them. It's been a fun story, Johns Hopkins. NC Nick, you with Mount Union here?
Yeah, I mean, they're a stone's throw away from Canton and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How are you going to fade Mount Union at home? You don't. Raiders win.
Patty?
Yeah, I saw that game last week. It was weird against Salisbury. That was the one game I was watching because our homie went to. Very nice. Every time I looked up, I couldn't believe Mount Union had tacked on more points to the board. So they have a way to score fast. And when you look at Johns Hopkins wins, 4-point, 11-point, 7-point, another 7-point, an 11 or a 9-point, 13-point, 3-point, 5-point, 7-point. They are squeaking by all year. Now you're playing a juggernaut in Mount Union. Cinderella, it's over. Midnight has struck. Mount Union keeps going.
Yeah. Next up, don't wait. How about these darlings, Susquehanna?
Nailed it.
Winning. They keep winning, and now they got to go to Naperville, take on North Central. Remember, Susquehanna should have lost. They had a magical 2-point conversion, hook and ladder 3 weeks ago. And a game they had no business getting to overtime, but they've been riding that thing. And now they take on North Central. First ever matchup. I got to go North Central here at home. Home. Look, there's probably snow there too. If they're getting in South Bend, they're getting in Naperville. NC Nick, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I mean, North Central's still undefeated. They took care of Springfield last weekend. They're playing at home. You got to ride the what are they? The Cardinals?
Yeah, Birds. Patty C, what are you doing here?
Redbirds.
Look, like I said, my boys from Naperville. This is a well-supported community up in Naperville, upper middle class. Really probably supporting the home team. Susquehanna on a road trip. Give me North Central. Keep it going. Naperville.
Yeah. Let's go. Next up. Oh, we got the championship game. There will be a winner. We got the D2 national championship. A championship will be crowned. We got Kirby Smart and Mike Leach. They got their start there at Valdosta, taking on this blue blood of a program. Ferris State just keeps dominating. Me and Beanick were talking about why are they not in the FCS yet? Them and Grand Valley State
Right?
have gigantic enrollments too. Like Ferris State is like 11,000 people. I think Grand Valley has like 23,000.
11,000 is not exactly gigantic, but
dude, well, look at some of the FCS schools. You know, Presbyterian's got like 1,200 people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So-
a decent size FCS. You're right.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by this game.
Meanwhile, George Mason has 38,000 and can't field a football team.
Right? Jeez.
Pathetic. Ferris State, they're going to get it done. They're the more physical team. Valdosta is a good story. but
Turning
Ferris
your
State, I think,
back
is
on
a
your boy,
physical team.
one Mike Leach. Come on.
Oh,
Give me
yeah.
Valdosta.
May he rest easy. Going Valdosta. Patty C, I'm curious what you're doing here.
This is the championship game. Look,
McKinney,
Valdosta State
Texas.
just beat Craig T. Nelson of Minnesota State. So I have to voice my disappointment with that. Ferris State just handled who was that? Slippery Rock. Close game there. Only a 10-point win.
Slippery Rock was
Ferris
up big
State.
early. Yeah. Gut check game.
What's another town in Texas? Frisco? Frisco and McKinney, Texas are doing it right. God bless Texas.
Yeah.
Right?
They are.
God bless Texas.
They are.
Amen.
God bless Texas. Let's
You know
go.
what? Give me Valdosta. Give me Valdosta.
Woo! Can't wait to watch this game. Then right after that, it jumps right into South Dakota heading to Bozeman to take on these Montana State Bobcats. Little dome team in Bozeman. I learned my lesson with the little boys from Idaho last week. I'm not doing this. Tommy Malott and Montana State are on a mission. I'm laying the 7.5.
balling out.
He was balling out. NC Nick, what are you doing here?
Look, South Dakota was very impressive against UCD, forcing 5 interceptions. But our guy, Land Larison, sprained his ankle in the second quarter, was out for the game. Land Larison is the UCD offense. So South Dakota got very fortunate with that injury occurring. And, you know, I'm not fading Tommy Malott in Bozeman. So I love it at 7.5. You know, I'm not afraid of the hook. Let's go Bobcats.
Patty?
You know, if we have a head-to-head comparison to determine the true national championship in the absence of, let's do it old school like they did it for like 100 years in college football and determine who the true national champion is. Oregon, Idaho played on the road and lost by 10. Now it's been 2 times that Idaho has played Montana State. The first time they lost 38-7. This time they lost 52-19. Montana State is the best team in the country in all of football. They probably should be in the NFL. 7.5 is a joke. I would love to see a South Dakota versus South Dakota State national championship. However, that is not going to happen because Montana State is the best team in the FCS.
Let's lock this. Let's lock
Lock
it.
it down.
Oh, yeah. Lock it up for sure.
Triple lock, Montana State minus 7.5.
Give us the
Let's
real
go.
music.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Triple lock on these Bobcats, and let's go.
We're up top 'cause we play to win.
right, now we jump back to a big one. They've never played. These teams have been playing college football for the goddamn since.
This is wild.
How have they never played? I couldn't believe this. Clemson is heading into Austin, Texas. Dabo Swinney has been to the mountaintop many times. And Clemson today added a wide receiver in the transfer portal. So they're changing. Dabo Swinney is changing. He's a change man. He's a rehabilitated man. And let me tell you, I think, and how about this Quinn Ewers distraction shit? Michigan State willing to offer a bunch of money. Missouri, because
did they say who the did they say who the Big Ten team that he was interested in was?
Michigan State. Michigan State.
It was Michigan
State.
I
also heard Missouri was willing to. And, I'm starting to get the feeling that he's being forced out of Austin with the way he's played the past 3 weeks and with the way they're paying Arch Manning as a backup. Is that a distraction? We heard Larry Johnson talk about that Duke UNLV game back in 91, NC Nick.
That's right. And he took ownership. He said the loss was his fault. So don't say this bullshit call on Greg Anthony or something.
Well, he did say he talks to Greg. He talks to Greg, and because Greg Anthony goes, that bullshit, I fouled me out. And he goes, no, that's on me. That's on me. So to who you ask? If you ask Greg Anthony, he says, that call is bullshit. And the Hurley's whining? Come on. It's a family thing. Dude, I feel great about Clemson here. I just think out of all the ones, they're playing with house money. There's no pressure for them. There's no pressure. First off, Cade Klubnik's from Austin, Texas, right? It's a homecoming. Garrett Riley, their OC, from Texas, right? Like, I just feel like they weren't supposed to be here. They're here. They probably should have beat South Carolina 3 weeks ago. And I think the fact that they lost that game was kind of a blessing in disguise in a way, because they were able to get there. And meanwhile, Texas, to me, hasn't looked great. They haven't beat anybody with the pulse. And then I think this is like the most complete team, I mean, other than Georgia, that Texas has played all year. And I think that, as far as like they can beat you on the ground, they can beat you in the air, they play good defense, they have an awesome kicker. Give me the 11.5. Sprinkle the money line. Lock it up. NC Nick, what are you doing here?
Well, I don't understand why this line is 11.5 compared to the other games, which are around 7 to 8 or 8.5 or so. I don't get it. I mean, it's either we think Texas is that much better than Notre Dame, Penn State, or Ohio State, which I don't, or we think Clemson is that much worse than Indiana, Tennessee, or SMU, who they just beat, which I don't. So I don't understand this line compared to the other games. I think Clemson, this is a very good draw for them. Winning in Austin, Texas is easier than winning in Columbus or Happy Valley or South Bend. And the temperature is going to be about 64 degrees for a bunch of guys from South Carolina and the South, which Clemson has. So this is probably the best draw they could get. And I mean, if you look at some stats that are in their favor, Clemson, top 5 team in the nation turnover margin. Texas, very highly penalized, 106 in the nation in penalties. I don't see Texas just steamrolling Clemson like Georgia did in the opener. This is a ball game here. I will definitely take the points. Lock it up.
Patty, you coming with us? We have a triple lock.
Patty,
it is a lot of points, and I think I do agree with you. Well, let me say a few things before we play that music. You mentioned Georgia stomping Clemson. What was that game, like 6-3 at halftime? That was to open the season. I think, Georgia did a great job bottling up Phil Maffa in that game, and I know Texas is a physical team. So if you take that away from Clemson, is Cade Klubnik going to be able to do it on his own? That is a question. But I think you're right. I think Texas has played a lot of close games against not that great competition. Let me get that pulled up because I have that. Here I have it. A 3-point win against Vandy. They stomped Florida, but didn't Florida? Who they have running quarterback that game? It wasn't.
They're the walk-on freshman from Yale, or no, the walk-on junior from Yale. Yeah,
that's right. A 10-point win against Arkansas. A 17-point win against Kentucky at home. a 10-point win against A&M, and then on the bookend of all those games is 2 losses to Georgia, the one in the SEC championship game with their backup quarterback for 2.5 quarters. So I am not nearly as impressed with Texas as everyone else seems to be, at least like the media and the committee. I think 11.5 is way too many. Lock it up. I think the money line is very much in play here.
Triple lock on Clemson. Let's go. All right, and we've come to that point. Final game on the slate. Saturday night, the Tennessee Volunteers are coming into Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State's laying 7. Series goes back to just 1996 and their only game they've ever played against one another. It's a get-right spot for Ryan Day, all right? The whole world hates you. You get a chance to make a statement against a Tennessee team. I don't think it's that good. I took Tennessee to make the playoffs for a reason. The schedule. Now you got to go up. Now, Tennessee, Knoxville can get kind of cold. I feel like Columbia, Missouri, Lexington, Kentucky, Knoxville, like those 3 can get a little cold for SEC teams. But what is this, 20 degrees? 21 degrees I'm seeing?
High.
Cold.
No.
Yeah.
Ohio State. Lay it. Lay the 7. Lock it up. Not buying this Tennessee offense against this defense. In fact, I'm going to guarantee a pick 6 or a fumble or a pick 6 or fumble defensive touchdown. Just give me a defensive touchdown by Ohio State in this game. NC Nick, what are you doing here? We battling?
Well, I agree that usually the team from the South coming up north is a problem in the cold weather. But this Tennessee team, this isn't like the Hendon Hooker team of a couple years ago that was all finesse and all pass it out. I mean, this is a strong defense, good line play, running. They focus on the run game, Tennessee does. So I think that can travel. They have a top 5 defense this year, Tennessee does, as does Ohio State. So, well, I mean, you look at schedules and everything, but maybe they don't deserve to be top 5. But still, if you're that high, that means you got a pretty good damn defense. Okay, it's not like Tennessee hasn't played anybody. And we just saw the blueprint to beat Ohio State. It's exactly what Michigan just did, where they won a game only passing for 62 yards. I do think Nico Ocho can at least replicate what Davis Warren did, if not have a much better game. The fact that Tennessee seems like a chalky.
You got to throw that game out.
I wouldn't just throw it away. There's some truth to that. I hear you. But I think if Tennessee can play a clean game, turnover free, this game is going down to the wire. And if it's tight,
Tennessee playing clean? They haven't been clean since goddamn.
What I mean by clean is turnover free. And I think that is a possibility. And if the game is tight going into the second half, all of the pressure will be on Ohio State and Ryan Day. Now, from some things I've seen on Twitter today, it looks like, Tennessee's kind of that public dog era, which we usually don't like. But I just don't see how this isn't a close game because I'm not believing in either team's offense when they're playing up against a strong D. And I do believe both these teams have strong defenses. I'm taking the points. We will battle. Let's go.
My final score is something in the vein of 24-6. Because they're going to go for 2 because Heupel does all that crazy shit. Patty C, before I play the music, do you want in on this action?
I don't want to lock it just because even though I am going to take Ohio State. I think the stats are in Tennessee's favor, top 10 offense and defense. That is a championship typically,
they're
not stat line. Hey, look, sometimes the stat line tells more of a story than you're willing to admit. And Tennessee has played great offense and defense all year. I think the fact that they're a run-based team actually lends itself pretty well to the environment that they're going to be playing, and maybe more so than even Ohio State. You would assume Ohio State would have a huge advantage in the weather. But I think Tennessee could keep it close, but still I'm going to cock Ohio State, but Tennessee, they could surprise some people here. So we'll see.
This is the game out of all 4 that I feel best about.
I think the
battle.
Clemson games are.
Dundee laying the 7 with Ohio State. NC Nick taking the Vols. GBO Farms have been chirping to him. Patty C on the sidelines eating a burrito.
What's new?
If I had to power rank these as far as confidence, I would say Clemson, Notre Dame, Tennessee, SMU. As far as my confidence on my side, covering.
Yeah. Mine would be Ohio State, then Indiana, then Clemson, then SMU. Patty?
I would say, just because of the hook, give me Indiana as my number one play. Probably Penn State, depending on weather, but I think Penn State. Then what was the other? Then Clemson. Then this one is confusing to me. So that's my order.
Wow, we're all over the fucking place. Folks, that's our show. Give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. NC Nick's on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. I might try to force NC Nick into a DFS episode for these 4 games.
I'd say we might have to
the people up there.
have to have a prop show on Thursday or so.
There we go. Get on over
Real
there.
quick,
Subscribe
Colby.
to the College Football Experience. What's up?
Do we have time to look at my data that I pulled up?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, dude. I forgot that. Let's see if we can do that real quick.
Real quick, I sent you the link. I don't know if you could share the screen, but regardless, I can tell you what we're looking at here. We got these guys, whether it be Joel Klatt, Josh Pate, or any other. I didn't know Joel Klatt was a big conference guy. Apparently, that's where he's going with this. He is hating on the.
Well, he gets paid
license,
by the Big Ten,
which makes sense. Okay, so either way, these stats that they're saying, these teams that don't belong. Boise State, who, their only loss was a close loss against Oregon. So that's our sample size of them against elite competition. Did pretty well. I don't know why everyone thinks that that's terrible. I think they could easily beat Penn State. Has anyone really watched how good Cignetti is? Yes, we see his stats, but he is freaking awesome. He's making like Barry Sanders style highlights. Maybe not quite that level, but kind of close. But anyway, right now I did 25 years worth of research.
Can you resend me that link right now?
Yeah, let me send it to you.
I'll try to show it on the screen, but I don't have it in front of me right now. But
okay, hold on.
Yeah.
It's already shared, so I don't know how to send it. Can you check your email?
Okay.
But basically,
what about in
over
Slack?
the last.
Send me in Slack.
Okay. Yeah, let me send it to you in Slack. You should have access. Over the last 25 years, the number one team, the top ranked conference champion, because what we're worried about here is the conference champions. Currently, we have the top 5 conference champions going to the playoff, and they're saying that's an unfair system because these conference champions from the Mountain West and even the ACC or the Big 12 are vastly overrated and shouldn't be in the top 4. Well, over the course of 25 years, the number one conference champion has been the top team in the nation 23 out of 25 years. The only time it didn't happen was in 2012 when Notre Dame finished number 1. And in 2003, when Oklahoma wasn't penalized for losing their conference championship game against Kansas State and was number 1. Okay. Other than that, the number one conference champion is always number 1 in the nation. The number 2 conference champion is pretty much always number 2 in the nation. Number 3 conference champion, there may be one team that sneaks in from another conference that gets in above them, but their average ranking over 25 years is 3.8. So you can assume that the 3rd ranked conference champion is the number 3 or 4 team in the country. That is not an overrated team. And then the 4th ranked conference champion over a 25-year period leading up to this year was on average number 5.8 with the low of 12, right? So yeah, the number 6 team in the country getting into the top 4, I don't think that's, screwing up the system drastically. and yet this year, okay, so here are the lowest that these teams have finished over a 25-year period. For the third-ranked conference champion, number 7, fourth-ranked conference champion, number 12, fifth-ranked conference champion, number 15. Okay, so if you're fifth-ranked conference champion, only one time out of 25 years finished, or 2 times out of 25 years, sorry, finished outside the top 12, then yes, the fifth-ranked conference champion belongs in the college football playoff as well. However, this year, the third-ranked conference champion, previous low out of 25 years was 7. This year, number 9. Fourth-ranked conference championship, previous low, number 12. This year, number 12, so the lowest ever, or tied for the lowest ever. And then the fifth-ranked conference champion, number 15. This year, 16. So I think this is the committee basically fucking with the rankings that they've done forever, and making these teams particularly low. Now, you can say, yes, that Arizona State surprised everyone and snuck up late, which is why they're low, and Boise State maybe doesn't have the wins that would merit like a top, 5 ranking, but still, basically, I just feel like they're ranking these teams lower than they typically would. And the last 25 years of data bears that out. And so anyone who's like right now claiming that the system needs to change, that these teams are being, unfairly put into a high ranking, is just ignoring the history of what has happened. And don't ignore all that stuff over on the right, Colby. Scroll to the left, because I didn't complete the data on the right. But on the left side of the page, I have all of the data there. You probably can't see it because it's so small. But all that to say, let's give this a little time. I think that, Arizona State being ranked 12 and Boise State being ranked 9, that's because the committee hasn't adjusted to the idea that the new Big 12 can produce a legitimate team. So even though an 11-2 conference champion from a power conference is there and would typically be ranked in like the top 8, now they got them all the way down at 12. And Clemson at number 16 or as 10-3, they typically wouldn't have them at that low. So I just think give it a little more time before you and what they're doing is, yeah.
No, I'm with you. And Chris Moore says your stats are based on when the Pac-12 was a conference and Oklahoma and Texas were still in the Big 12. Things have changed drastically. That's true, but things have changed a lot over those years too. Like,
well, if you look at that little line in the middle right there, if you look at that line in the middle, that's when I marked off the Big East dying, right? There was no change to the number 3 conference champion. They stayed. In fact, they got higher because more teams moved into the number 3 conference, which was the ACC. So the ACC champion was typically ranked higher, and that's what should have happened this year. The ACC added Cal, Stanford, and SMU. So the ACC only got better. So why is there a conference champion which had never been, ranked that low, now number 16 in the nation, a 10-3 record and a conference championship, and they put them at fucking number 16? That's ridiculous, and it's unprecedented, and it's the fucking committee fucking around. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think all great points. NC Nick, I know it's a lot to digest on the fly there, but your thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to read it too. I mean, I think what Patty C
too
is
small. Can you
at,
zoom in, Cole? Zoom into those top 4, the highlighted yellow ones. You could see how highly ranked those teams were typically, right? And lo and behold, this year they're just completely, disrespected.
Is that zoomed? Do you guys?
Yeah,
that's zoomed. Look at that. They're always top 10, and now they got them all the way down at number 16.
Yeah, I think Patty C is probably onto something.
I guarantee you he is, and these TV execs, I'm sure, have a big hand in that. I agree. I mean, that's why, to me, I like the fact that Boise and Arizona State get the bye weeks, because why the fuck does Texas deserve a 5 seed? The same people that are bitching that saying Arizona State and Boise State shouldn't have been in or shouldn't have got the bye week, they still can't make sense of why Texas lost twice, has no top 25 wins, and has never left the top 5. Somebody make that make sense to me.
Yeah, that team is not typically ranked in the top 5. They've proven no more than Boise has. In fact, Boise played, Oregon. Texas or Georgia Oregon better than Texas played Georgia. So, but yet they're way lower ranked. It's stupid.
Yeah, I really like these numbers, dude. I was doing a deep dive when you sent me this initially, and it does show more of the corruption, which is why I say you got to expand the playoffs more. The corruption's always going to exist.
The easy thing is,
what's that?
You know, the easy thing is if you're complaining about buys, well, just get rid of the buys. Go to 16. Boom.
Yeah,
I even think the buys are warranted. I think if you play it out, you know, and this data shows it that the top 4 conference champions, you know, deserve a bye, and that values the conference championship, and it keeps them from putting the likes of Texas over Arizona State, despite Texas proving nothing. I mean, Arizona State 11-2 conference champion, Texas 10-2 non-conference champion who hasn't beaten fucking anyone, and yet Texas is what, 7 spots higher. That's the rating system. That's the committee being biased.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
That's the corruption. No, that's the corruption. Yeah. That is the corruption right there. Texas has no business being the 5 seed, and like I said, like if you want to argue the Arizona State and Boise thing, then make sense of all the other shit. Why the hell? Cignetti brings up a great point. He's like, why this game should be in Bloomington? Why is it in South Bend? He was like, Notre Dame's they lost to Northern Illinois. We lost to Ohio State, who's in the field.
Yeah, and they both.
So it's like,
neither one of them beat any good opponents. You know, I guess you could say Northern Illinois or Notre Dame beat.
But still,
Texas A&M,
Northern Illinois
Michigan's
loss is way worse than like not even on the same planet as a loss to Ohio State at Ohio State. But anyway, great stuff. For more on that, hit us up, Patty C. I'm sure he'll share this sheet with you, or we can screenshot this thing. Give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. I think that's all fantastic data. And anyone want to question it, let us know, because we'll gladly share this. NC Nick is on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Don't forget the College Basketball Experience is live tonight. And don't forget Sports Gambling Podcast, College Football Show in 23 minutes. Till next time, folks, this is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.